Hi folks, welcome back to another video. So today we've come down to Dollar Cove near Mullion Cove on the Lizard Peninsula with the intention of doing some long exposure photography. Didn't think this was going to happen today, mainly because it's been quite wet today, quite miserly, and in fact back over the Redruth Way where I live, it's pretty wet over there at the moment. But as you can see down here, we've got some lovely texture in that sky and some beautiful light coming through. And I have to admit that I've been down here to Dollar Cove a number of times in the last couple of weeks, scouting this location out to do a long exposure photography video. Now, the tide is currently going out. High tide was about 2 o'clock this afternoon, and low tide is about 9 o'clock this evening. So the tide is actually a little bit lower than I was anticipating. But I don't think that's really going to matter too much because there are so many compositions here that you can use that I think we'll find something no matter what. So what we're going to do is I'm going to head down the beach that way. I can see some rocks still out there in the water, so the intention is to go out there and try and shoot some of those, find some compositions, do some long exposure photography, talk you through my workflow, and encourage you maybe to go out and do some long exposure photography yourself. So let's go and have a quick look and see what we can find. So, I think I found my first composition. Can you see it? This lovely line of rocks just here. Now, as I said, that tide has gone out a little bit further than I was anticipating it was going to at this time of the day. But we've still got some water coming in here. This is a beautiful line that just leads us out towards that sky. Look at the texture of that sky. That is absolutely stunning. So, we need to talk about some basics before we do any long exposure photography. Obviously, the first thing that we need is a sturdy tripod. I use a Manfrotto 055 with a Manfrotto ball head, and I've been using that for a little while now, and that's a really good sturdy tripod in all conditions. This is the aluminium one rather than the carbon fibre. The carbon fibre is a bit too expensive for my taste, but this is a really good tripod. And when you're shooting long exposures, you need a sturdy base to be able to put the camera onto to get the shots that you want. So first thing you need, nice sturdy tripod. Okay, so the next thing we're going to need after the tripod is, of course, our camera. Now, ideally, you need a camera that you can use in manual or in bulb mode. And the reason for that is that the manual setting on a camera, normally the maximum length of exposure you can go up to on that is 30 seconds. That's the native setting on the camera, is 30 seconds of exposure. If you want to go beyond that, you need to put the camera into bulb mode. Also, there's a couple of other things you need to do. You need to make sure, and I'll see if I can show you on the camera here, if you can see it. So you've got your focus, your autofocus. So that needs to be switched to manual once you focus the camera. So I shoot everything in manual focus anyway, so I'll leave that off. The other thing is you've got your stabilization on some of the lenses. So you need to turn that off because obviously with it sat on a tripod, you don't need image stabilization. The camera is absolutely stable. It's absolutely fine. It's all working really well. And as you can see, I've got the polarizer there, my Nisi True Color polarizer on the end of the lens, just lives on the lens. That's going to be used to take off any glare off the water in a moment when we get set up. Some cameras, I don't know about all of them, but some cameras have a built-in timer for doing long exposure photography. This one does. I can go into the menu, I can select whatever time I want, set the exposure, and away it'll go. Some of you may find that you've got to time it with a watch or something like that, or whichever way you're comfortable in doing so. But certainly you need a camera that you can use in manual or bulb mode. Don't forget those settings to turn off. Next job is just to put this on the tripod and start thinking about the filters that we're going to use. So, camera's all set up, shooting in a portrait orientation because that line of the rocks leading out to the water really just screams for a portrait shot. So I've set the camera up. I've used the CPL to take some of that glare off of the water. I've focused the image manually, so the autofocus is switched off. The image stabilization is switched off because we're not going to need that as it's sat on the tripod. Settings-wise, I'm up to ISO 50, f11, and the light at the moment is giving me about a half a second of exposure with the settings that I've got. Now I'm going to be using my Nisi 3-stop medium graduated neutral density filter, and where it says about soft, medium or hard is actually that graduation between the clear area and the dark area. So that's a medium filter, and then I'm going to use my 10-stop neutral density filter. And you can see how dark that neutral density filter actually is, which is why we need an app to generally work out what the exposure time is going to be. Now, I know from experience, because I've done a couple of these recently, playing around with it, that half a second of exposure, by the time I put on the 10-stop ND, is going to give me approximately 8.5 minutes, which is going to look really nice. We should get some wonderful movement and texture in that sky, and we should get some lovely movement of that water in and around these rocks. So, as I said, everything's all set up. All I've got to do is put the holder on and lock that into place. Now, the source of the light for this image is coming from that direction. You can see it there behind me. So I've turned the holder towards the light just to try and balance that out a little bit, cut down a little bit of that light that's coming. We've got some beautiful movement coming in around this rock. So I'm going to take this image, 8.5 minutes. I've set the timer in the camera. So it's all ready to go. All I've got to do is hit the button. And in fact, I won't hit the button. I shall use my little remote, as I always do. So we're going to get that started. And while I'm actually shooting that 8.5 minutes, I'm going to turn you around and I'm going to set up a time lapse. I'm going to shoot a time lapse for the time that the camera is running. So I'm going to get this started, get a time lapse going, and then I'll put that all up on the screen for you at one time. I've already spotted a couple of other potential compositions. I'm going to have a look at those whilst this is running, and then hopefully we'll go and shoot those. Okay, so I've literally moved 2 or 3 feet to my right-hand side from where I was in that previous image. And we've got this, there's a lovely rock. I think I've just put a little bit of video on showing it. It's a lovely rock with a line that leads right out into the sea here. That tide is receding quite quickly, so I'm not sure how well this is going to work now. But same setup as before, still in portrait orientation. Still got the CPL on there, just taking the glare off of that water. This is looking very nice. Filters wise, again, I've got the 3-stop medium GND, the 10-stop ND, they're already in the holder ready to go. I've manually focused, I've set the timer at 8.5 minutes. I've maintained the half a second exposure by increasing my ISO. So my ISO is now at 160 because that light has dropped quite a lot. So my ISO is at 160, I'm still at F11, and I'm going to get another 8.5 minutes of exposure out of this. So I'm going to put the filter on, I'm going to get the camera rolling, and then I have to work a little bit quicker on the next one because that water, that level is dropping off, and I've got a really nice shot. These rocks that you can see just here behind me, there is a lovely, lovely line with the way the rocks curve and lead out, and I really want to get a shot of that with the water coming in through the gully there. So I'm going to crack on with this image, and then we'll have a go at this one, and then I think there's a couple of other shots a little bit further over. So I don't think we're done here yet, even though we are getting towards sunset. In fact, sunset is around about now, but I think there is still the opportunity to do some long exposure images still. I think this might be the last shot with the 10-stop ND. I think I'm probably going to switch over to my 6-stop ND from this point, and they won't be as long, obviously, as the 8.5 minutes, but we'll see what images we can actually get. So I'm going to crack on with this, and then I'll pop that image up on the screen for you. Okay, so I'm having to work quite quickly now because that light is dropping off. We've gone past sunset. We've got some quite heavy cloud. The tide is receding. Everything's working against me, but that's just the way it is. So I've already set up and started shooting this next composition. I've actually changed over to my 6-stop ND now to reduce that shutter time. So I'm currently shooting at a minute of exposure. So I've got the true color CPR set up. I've got the 3-stop medium GND in there still because there is a couple of areas of that sky that are a little bit bright, and I've got the 6-stop ND. I've bumped my ISO back down a little bit, so that's now ISO 100 from 160, which I was shooting over there. So it's ISO 100, F11, and 1 minute of exposure. So that's currently running. In fact, that's now done, and that's looking really nice. We've got some lovely movement in the foreground of the image, some really nice movement of the cloud in that sky, because that cloud is actually moving quite quickly. And all the images that I've taken, I've got some really nice movement of that cloud. So I'm really pleased with that. But this is looking really nice. I love the line of these rocks, the way that not only the way that it curves away from you, I don't know if you can see it very well on the camera, but the angle of the rocks themselves sticking up towards the right-hand side, and then they curve away towards the horizon line. It's just looking really, really nice, and I'm really loving that image. As I said, tide's going out quite quickly. There's another composition I want to shoot, so the image I've just taken, I'll put that up on the screen for you, and we're going to move over this way to the next composition. If you are enjoying today's video, please do smash a like on it and consider subscribing to my channel. I've got plenty of other videos that you can look at as well. In the description below, you'll find links to my various social media. Now, if you're on Facebook and you hit the Facebook link that's in the description, you can go to my page and you can have a look at my 2024 calendar, which is now available to pre-order. Images from various locations in Cornwall, different times of the year. I plan to go to print in mid-September, so now's a really good time to get in. So I've got an idea what numbers I'm looking for. Calendar is priced at £10 each. UK postage and packaging is about £4.50. Overseas, if you're interested, you'll have to get in touch with me, message me, and we'll discuss what the shipping costs are going to be. But Facebook link in the description below will take you over to my page, and you can have a look at my 2024 calendar. I'd really appreciate it if you check that out as well. So continuing with the theme, we're having to work quite quickly now with the light dropping off. How's about that for an image? Look at that line. Those rocks there, bit of seaweed, beautiful. Some lovely textures in there. Beautiful movement. Camera's up and running. Again, landscape, sorry, not landscape, true color CPL, 3-stop medium GND, 6-stop ND. I've got that running at 1 minute still. I've had to bump the ISO on that up to 200 now because that light has dropped so much. In fact, I'm actually considering taking the 6-stop ND out and switching to the 3-stop ND, which is how much light we've now lost. Like I said, we're a quarter of an hour past sunset. Obviously, you can tell from the beautiful sunset color that we're having that it's we're a quarter of an hour past sunset. I'm not sure that we're going to get much more out of this now. Though there are other compositions on this beach I'd like to explore, it's just with the light dropping off like it is, I'm just not sure that we're going to get anything. So just to recap with long exposure photography, with my workflow, once I'm set up on the tripod and I've got my composition, I'm going to manually focus. For me, I mean, you might want to autofocus. I find autofocus is a little bit too soft. I like to use them. I like to focus manually. So you're going to focus your image manually, automatic, whatever it is. If you focus in automatically, make sure you switch that off once you've actually focused the image. Next thing to remember, I'm just watching those waves coming in. Next thing to remember is you need to turn off the image stabilization. You don't need it. The camera set up on the tripod, you don't need it. Next thing you want to do is get your ISO as low as possible. I can go to 50. A lot of cameras it's 100, some around about 64, but 50, 100 ISO, try and get it as low as you possibly can. Okay, the next thing you're going to want to do is adjust that CPL to take any glare off of the water. And then you're going to want to have a look at what your exposure time is going to be. You're going to want to set your exposure up. So like I said earlier on, my initial setting, I had half a second of exposure with the way the camera was set up. So once I put that 10-stop filter on, I'm getting 8.5 minutes of exposure. You might not want 8.5 minutes of exposure, and that's absolutely fine. But then don't use a 10-stop neutral density filter. You can use a 3, you can use a 6, whatever you want. It's up to you. It's about how you want the image to look. I wanted to get a very long exposure. 8.5 minutes sat well with me. I was quite happy with a couple of images at 8.5 minutes. But it's whatever you want. So once you've got that in and you've decided on your exposure length, go for it. Shoot your image. If you find it's a little bit too dark, lengthen the exposure. You find it's a little bit too bright, shorten the exposure. Play around with it until you get the look that you actually want for your image. Now, the camera's just finished there, so I'm going to have a quick look at this image. That's looking really, really nice. Some really nice movement in that cloud. That cloud's going across that way, so we're just getting a streak of movement from that cloud as it moves across. It's looking really nice. I'm going to pop that image up on the screen for you in just a moment. I have to say that having been down here a number of times recently, this beach has become my new favourite beach for long exposure photography. There are so many compositions on this beach. It's absolutely amazing. And as that tide recedes, you get more and more and more. But we've reached that point now where I think it's almost gone too far. And a lot of the rocks that I would like to have shot are now hung and dry. So I am going to continue. I'm going to have a quick look around before I finish the video. But I'm going to post that image up on the screen now for you to have a look at, and then we'll see if there's anything else here to shoot before we give it up. So that is it, folks. The light has just really dropped off now. That cloud's really thickened up. You can see it there. There's some bright spots. They actually look brighter on the camera than they do to the naked eye. It has actually gotten quite dark now, so I'm just going to call it quits, I think. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you got something out of it. Remember, if you are interested in a one-to-one or a small group workshop, you can find all the links to my social media and means to contact me in the description below. Don't forget that Facebook link. Go and check out my calendar. If you want to order one, just give me a message. Absolutely no problem at all. That was a bit of a surge. That was a bit of a surge of water. I thought I was going to get my feet wet then. Luckily, I seem to be standing in just the right spot. It hasn't come in and got me, but that was close. Yes, check out that link, Facebook, calendar. Drop me a message if you're interested. Wonderful gifts for Christmas. You know, like I said, go to print mid-September. Should be shipping by early October. So if you're interested, get in the comments. Let me know. Facebook, let me know. Like I said, the workshops, again, let me know. I said earlier on that I've been down here for the last couple of weeks, on and off, playing around with some shots, looking at compositions and what have you. What I'm going to do is a number of those images that I've captured on those trips, I'm going to pop up at the very end of this video. So I've just got the camera running for one more at the moment. I've just taken a 2-minute exposure of the same composition we were using previously. The camera's just finished, so I'll have a look at that in a moment, and then I'll pop all those images up. So I'll pop that image up on the screen for you. I'll pop up any other images that I've taken in the last couple of weeks that I think work really well from this location for you to have a look at. Yeah, let me know what you think. So thank you ever so much for watching. Hope to see you all again soon. Take care.